Hello, my name is Peter, and I have discovered something in the book of Revelation that nobody has ever seen before. And I will go through it with you as quickly as I can. From chapter 6, the images and visions start, and what you can find there is 4 horses. And it is exactly described what they are in verse 8. It says, authority was given to them over a fourth of the earth to kill by the sword, that's one, famine is another one, plague or death is another one, and wild animals is the fourth. This is war or the sword, this is famine, this is death by plague, so the wild animals is the other one, the white horse. But this is not an invention of the book of Revelation, it comes from Zechariah 6. Where you can see, behold, 4 chariots were going out, and there were red horses and black and white and strong spotted ones. So you will find 4 types of horses here as well. The interesting thing about Zechariah is that it says, the angel replied to me, these are the 4 spirits of heaven. So these 4 horses are 4 judgments, and there are also 4 spirits. But the Hebrew word for spirits can also mean winds. So if you take another translation, for instance the American Standard Version, then you will see that here they are called the 4 winds. So these 4 horses are judgments, winds, or spirits. In Revelation 6, they are only described. They are not allowed to do anything yet, because if you go to the next chapter, then you see that there are 4 angels and they are holding back the 4 winds of the earth. And we just learned from Zechariah that these are these 4 horses. So these 4 horses are held back so that they don't blow on the earth and the sea and the tree and do them any harm. And then here in verse 2, and I saw another angel ascending from the rising of the sun. This is from the east, where the river Euphrates is. And they're holding the seal of the living God, and he called out with a loud voice to the 4 angels to whom it was granted to harm the earth and the sea. Now these 4 winds are called 4 angels, all right? And they are instructed to hold back, because do not harm the earth, the sea, and the trees until we have sealed the bondservants of our God on their foreheads. Before these judgments are allowed to take place, the servants of God have to be sealed. And this comes from Ezekiel 9, where Ezekiel sees a vision of Jerusalem and the temple. And then in verse 4, the Lord said to him, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and make a mark on the foreheads of the people who groan and sigh over all the abominations which are being committed in its midst. So these people are the true believers in God and the true followers and the true servants of God. And they groan and sigh over all the evil that is taking place in Jerusalem. And they get a mark on the forehead. But to the others he said, in my presence, go through the city after him and strike. Do not let your eye have pity, and do not spare. So everybody has to get killed. And as they were striking the people and I alone was left, I fell on the face and cried out, saying, O Lord God, are you going to destroy the entire remnant of Israel by pouring out your wrath on Jerusalem? Now the point is, this did not happen with the Babylonian exile. Nebuchadnezzar did destroy Jerusalem and the temple, but he took many all of the Jews to Babylon. That is the Babylonian exile. He took them to his country and he deported them. He did not kill all of them like it says over here. So this is a prophecy about the destruction of Jerusalem in the year 70, because then this did happen. And that's what Revelation 7 is referring to. So it says, seal those people. Well, the ones that who are sealed are coming from the 12 tribes of Israel. So they are Jews, they are Israelites. And besides these 144 from Israel, there is also a multitude from all the nations. But this is separate from these. These are the believers from all the nations. These are the believers from Israel. So this can be seen and understood as the early Jewish church, the early Jewish followers of Jesus Christ Messiah. So now they are held back, but that raises the question, when are they allowed to do anything? When are they released? And we can find that in Revelation 9, because here it says, halfway down the chapter, a voice came saying to the sixth angel who had the trumpet, release the 4 angels who are bound at the great river Euphrates. They are bound there because they were held back. And the 4 angels who had been prepared for the hour, day and month and year were released so that they would kill 1/3 of mankind. Well, mankind is like, it seems like this is about the whole of the world, but it's just 1/3 of the people. It just says they would kill 1/3 of the people, so not necessarily everybody of the whole wide world, but just 1/3 of the people who concerns this chapter. And previously in this chapter, it was talked about locusts coming from the abyss, and they look like horses. So these locusts are just another depiction of these horses. But here in the first part of chapter 9, they are not allowed to kill, just to torment for 5 months. And then in the second part of this chapter, then they are released and then they are allowed to kill. So this can be seen as the destruction of Jerusalem in the year 70 by Titus. The siege of Jerusalem lasted 5 months. They were of course tormented because they were besieged. And after Jerusalem fell, about 1 million of the Jews were killed that were there in Jerusalem, and there were so many because it was Passover there, and they came from everywhere to visit Jerusalem, and Titus allowed them to get in, so he was able to kill so many Jews. If you make an estimate of how many Jews would be living in that time in the Roman Empire, that would be about 3 million. So it's 1/3 of the Jews had been killed by Titus. We can also see that in Luke 21, where they are talking about the temple and about how beautiful it is. And then Jesus says, as for these things which you are observing, the day will come when they will not be left one stone upon another, which will not be torn down. So Jesus is talking about the destruction of Jerusalem in the year 70. He says, but when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, then recognize that her desolation is near. All right? And then those who are in Judea must flee. And they who are inside the city must leave the city. And those who are in the country must not enter the city. Because these are the days of punishment, so that all things that have been written will be fulfilled, like what has been written in Ezekiel. And they will fall by the edge of the sword and will be led captive into the nations, and Jerusalem will be trampled underfoot by the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles are fulfilled. So Jesus told his followers to abandon Jerusalem when the Roman armies would get near. So if you would listen to Jesus and if you would obey what he said, you would be saved from the destruction of Revelation 9. So all the people who had the seal and listened to Jesus would abandon Jerusalem. They would get out of the way. They wouldn't stay there. They wouldn't go there. And they would be saved. So they were told not to hurt the grass of the earth, nor any green thing, nor any tree, but only the people who do not have the seal of God on their forehead. So only the people who did not listen to Jesus would stay in Jerusalem. And therefore, disaster would fall upon them. Now, if we go on in Revelation, it continues with the vision of the two witnesses. Then there was given a measuring rod, like a staff, and someone said, "Get up and measure the temple of God and the altar and those who worship it. But leave out the courtyard which is outside the temple and do not measure it, because it has been given to the nations, and they will trample the holy city for 42 months. So this is the same as you would see with Luke, trampling Jerusalem. Right? They will trample the holy city for a specific period, just like Luke said, for a specific period. This measuring rod, measuring the temple, what the meaning of a measuring rod is, you can find it in 2 Kings 21. And God says, "I will stretch out over Jerusalem the measuring line used against Samaria and the plumb line used against the house of Ahab, and I will wipe out Jerusalem as one wipes out a bowl, wiping it and turning it upside down." Wow. So taking the measuring line, stretching the measuring line over Jerusalem, it means it will be destroyed, right? And that's what it says here. Take a measuring rod, measure the temple and the altar. It means it will be destroyed. So Revelation 11 is beginning with the destruction of Jerusalem. Then there will be 2 witnesses, and they will prophesy for 1260 days, which is 42 months, if you have 360 days in a year, like they did back then. So these are different ways of depicting the same period. And these 2 witnesses, it is said they have power to shut up the sky so that rain will not fall during the days of their prophesying. So that is a reference to Elijah. And they have power over the waters to turn them into blood and strike the earth with every plague. So that's a reference to Moses. So we're talking about Elijah and Moses here. So I think we have to understand Moses and Elijah as representatives of the people of Judah. Why are they clothed in sackcloth? Yeah, because Jerusalem is just destroyed here, right? So for this period that Jerusalem will be destroyed, they will be clothed in sackcloth and they will mourn about it. Moses and Elijah represent the people of Judah who lost Jerusalem and the temple and ceased to exist as a nation. And from here they were dispersed over the countries, over many places in the world. And then we learn that when they finished their testimony, this period, the beast that comes out of the abyss will make war with them and overcome them and kill them. So who is this beast coming from the abyss? I think we can find that in chapter 17. But first we will finish this chapter. Their dead bodies will lie on the street of the great city. After 3.5 days, the breath of God came into them and they stood on their feet and they rose again. And then they had heard a loud voice from heaven, and they went up into heaven in a cloud, and the enemies watched them. What we see here is 3.5 years, because 42 months is 3.5 years. 3.5 years of prophesying in sackcloth, then dying, then resurrection, and then ascension to heaven. So this is a summary of the life of Jesus, who was publicly speaking for 3.5 years. Then he died and he rose again from the dead, and he ascended to heaven. So what I think is happening here is that the history of Judah after the destruction of the temple is compared to the life of Jesus. If Judah is resurrected again, we can understand this as what happened in 1948 when Judah, Israel, became a nation again. So that was 1948. And their death can be understood as the Holocaust, which happened up to 3 years before. And their ascension, I think we should say that this did not happen yet. And it might refer to Acts 1, where the disciples were asking Jesus, Lord, is it at this time that you are restoring the kingdom to Israel? But he said, no, it's not up to you to know about those things. We are sure that this kingdom has not been restored to Israel yet. Israel has become a nation, but the kingdom of David, the messianic kingdom, has not been restored to Israel yet. So this has not happened yet. And that's probably what the ascension of Moses and Elijah here is referring to. And it still needs to happen. Now in Revelation 12, you will find a woman clothed with the sun, the moon under her feet, and 12 stars. And she is giving birth to a child, but this child is taken to heaven before the dragon can devour it. And then the woman was fleeing, where she was kept safe for 1260 days, which is the same as we had in chapter 11. I think this woman can be seen as the early Jewish church, among whom Mariah also was a part of it. And that's why this woman in Mariah gave birth to Jesus as a child. And the dragon tries to kill the child, persecute this early Jewish church, but it doesn't succeed in doing that. And then it's sending a flood after her, and the earth is taking the hit. So the woman is kept safe. And here you can see that this period that this woman is kept safe lasts for a time, times and a half a time. And that is 1 plus 2 plus a half is 3.5 times. So now we are talking about 3.5 times. And this comes from Daniel 7 and Daniel 12. If you have a quick look at it, then here you can see it. Daniel 12 is talking about the end of times, and Michael will stand guard over the people of Daniel. And that will be a time of big distress, such as never occurred since there was a nation until that time. And at that time, your people, if they are found written in the book, will be rescued. And then if we try to understand about what kind of time they are talking about, then we can see that here, because Daniel is asking how long will that take and when will this end, this awful time. And then it says it will be after a time, times and half a time. Yeah, but it also says when that is as soon as they finish smashing the power of the holy people. So smashing the power of the holy people started in the year 70, and it ended in 1948 when Judah became a nation again. So this period, time, times and half a time, is the period that Judah is not a nation and living in the land of Israel, but is in the diaspora among the people of the world. So that is what Daniel is talking about. And for this same period, God is watching over his people and taking care of his believers. So this woman can be seen as another way of depicting the 144,000. They are the same. Now, when we come to Revelation 13, you will find a beast coming from the sea. And to understand what that's about, you have to go to Daniel 7, where we can find 4 beasts coming from the sea. And these 4 beasts, the first was like a lion, then the second one was like a bear, and then the third one was like a leopard. And then there was even a 4th beast. It was dreadful and terrible, large teeth, iron. Okay. And it had 10 horns. So we have 3 animals and an unspecified 4th beast. If we look at what these beasts are, it's explained in verse 23. And it says the 4th beast will be a 4th kingdom on the earth, which will be different from all other kingdoms and will devour the whole earth and trample it down and crush it. All right. So if we think about what empire this will be, then we have to say that the first empire is the Babylonian Empire, then came the Persian Empire, then came the Greek Empire, and then came the Roman Empire. So the 4th beast is the Roman Empire, and it trampled down the entire earth back then, the entire world. And this is similar to Daniel 2, where you will find the vision of the statue. There is the iron as well. The 4th part of this statue had iron and it crushed them, and this is also the Roman Empire. Then another thing is we also find these great beasts are 4 in number, and they are 4 kings who will arise from the earth. When the beast arises from the earth, this can be seen as a king or the kingship of this empire. So when we go to Revelation 13, we have a beast coming up from the sea, so it must be an empire. It has 10 horns, just similar like in Daniel 7. And then the beast was like a leopard, a bear, and a lion. It consists of parts of each of these 3. So I think Revelation 13 wants us to conclude that this beast is the 4th beast of Daniel 7, because it specifies the 4 animals of the previous 3 empires. So Revelation 13 is about the Roman Empire. Then we have the beast coming from the earth. This is the kingship of this empire, and it exercises all the authority of the empire, which makes sense like this. And then there will be an image of the beast, a picture of it. This image is breathing so that it can speak, and it can kill everybody who does not worship that image. So this can be seen as the specific person, the specific human that is filling the kingship of this empire. In chapter 17 we can find more specifics about this beast. Here there is a prostitute who is riding on this beast, and the explanation comes here in verse 9. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sits. Now if you type 7 hills, Roma coin, then you can see that there has been coins where the goddess whore Roma, who is the main goddess of the Roman Empire, she depicts the Roman Empire. So this goddess Roma is sitting on the 7 hills of Rome. So this was a well understood and common image in the Roman Empire, and that image is used here to depict the city of Rome. But the 7 heads are also 7 kings. 5 have been fallen, 1 is, the other has not yet come, and when he comes he must remain a little while. These kings can be understood as Julius Caesar, who kind of started the Roman Empire, and then we have August, Tiberius, Caligula, Claudius, and Nero. So up to Claudius is 5, so they are already gone. Then Nero is the 6th, that's the one who is, and then after Nero killed himself, the Roman Empire came into a civil war, and a couple of people declared themselves emperor of Rome, but they only lasted for a couple of months. And Galba was the first of the 3 very short-lived emperors. And that is the 7th one, so this fits the Roman Empire. Then it says that this beast once existed, but it isn't there anymore. So the Roman Empire disappeared, it doesn't exist anymore like before. And then it is an 8th king, and he's like the other 7, he looks like it, so it's similar in characteristics and appearance, but it will also go to destruction. And this new resurrected empire will only rule for 1 hour, so only very short time. And this beast, this resurrected beast, a beast that once was but it is not anymore, and it's coming out of the abyss. And that's exactly what we saw in chapter 11. The beast that comes out of the abyss. That beast will make war with Judah, and it will overcome and kill them. So the beast that comes out of the abyss is the 8th king of Revelation 17. And therefore this new empire, it can be seen as the Third Reich from Hitler, because it was he who killed 1/3 of the Jews as well, similar as Titus did. And who is this beast coming out of the abyss? You can find that in Revelation 20, because it's not the beast coming from the sea, it's not the beast coming from the earth, but it's beast coming from the abyss. So in Revelation 20, there was an angel who had the key of the abyss, and he took hold of the dragon, who is the devil, and bound him for 1,000 years, and he threw him into the abyss. So this is where the beast is thrown into the abyss. And then in verse 7, when the 1,000 years are completed, Satan will be released from his prison and will come out to deceive the nations, etc., and fight war against them. So here, the dragon, the beast, is coming out of the abyss, because it was put in here, and then it comes out here. So that means, like in Revelation 17, there is like 1,000 years between the disappearance of the beast with the first 7 emperors and the new beast with the 8th king that comes out of the abyss. And that means we are already living in the time where the devil has been let loose. He's waging a war against the Jews and Christians alike. And the 1,000 years of the devil being bound, that was during the Middle Ages, where the church ruled the world. But the church is not ruling the world anymore. We are becoming a minority, and we are belittled, persecuted, ridiculed, thrown out of politics, science, you name it. And even in countries where Christianity is growing, they are physically persecuted. There is a worldwide war going on against Christianity, and many lose faith because of it. So we are already in this time period. We find the same in Revelation 11. Most of it we already had. What we didn't have is the ascension. So we're probably here somewhere. And then after this, there is the seventh trumpet, and the seventh trumpet is the last trumpet, and the last trumpet is when Jesus will come back and the end of time is there. Now there's one more interesting thing that we can have a look at, and that is Daniel 12, because we already said that this period for a time, times and half time, is the time between the year 70 and 1948, when Judah became a nation again. But then here it says, and from the time that the regular sacrifice is abolished and the abomination of desolation is set up. So the regular sacrifice stopped in the year 70. That is the same as when the power of the holy people was smashed. So that's why the sacrifice stopped. And it will be 1290 days. And blessed is the one who is patient and can even wait up to 1335 days. But as for you, go your way to the end, and you will rest and rise for your allotted portion at the end of the age. So here it's talking about the resurrection from the dead for Daniel. Here it is talked about the resurrection of all people. It is talked about the end of time. So when will that happen? After 1290 days, or maybe even 1335 days. So I'm going to get a calculator, and then the 3.5 times, the 1260 days, was from the year 70 to 1948. So we take 1948 minus the year 70, so that's 1878 years. So 3.5 times, or 1260 days, is 1878 years. So we divide this by 1260. All right, so this is what we get, 1.49. Now we multiply that with the 1290, right, from Daniel. And then we start from the year 70. So the resurrection of the dead could have happened from the year 1993 on. And then, so 1878, 1260 times 1335 plus 70 is up to 2060. So that means that anywhere between 1993 and 2060, the dead will rise, and that is when Jesus comes back. And if this is true, then we can understand it doesn't take long anymore. We don't know exactly what day and what year, but we already live in the season that Jesus may come back. It won't take that long anymore. Thank you for listening. Bye.